welcome back to another episode of the Screen Addicts podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Aurora Star Cluster Cinema Sosa.
And I am your other co-host, Chris Father TV Viegas.
Father, thank you, Father TV, for watching all the TV, Father.
Oh my gosh. Shay, dude, I have a bone to pick with you, my friend.
Well, what? Why? What? You can't just threaten one of our most valued listeners and not explain why.
Well, okay, so for all the other listeners, Shay is one of our most avid listeners, and I came across one of his Facebook posts recently about a movie or a documentary that he watched called Love Has Won.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I guess we could get into recently watched, jump right into it almost.
I mean, might as well.
And so he was like, yeah, y'all should talk about this. I was like, okay, I guess I'll watch it so me and Steven can talk about it. And let me tell you, man, like, I'm all about people doing whatever the hell they want. That's fine. Do what you want. If you want to feel like you're Jesus, by all means, whatever. That doesn't mean I have to believe it, whatever. But man, these people are like just out there. Like, it would not to bash anybody whatsoever, but it's just not my cup of tea to be in a cult, I guess. I don't know.
Hey, you can be nice. I'll bash them. Some of these people are straight loons, man. Crazies.
Dude, if you ever wanted to get your kids not to do drugs, have them watch this documentary.
Yeah.
Cause geez Louise, man, it is out there. I mean, these people, well, the documentary is about this lady, Amy, I forget the last name, that she goes down this road where she thinks that she is Mother God, and God is a woman, and then gets a lot of these people to believe that she is God. And it just tells a story of this. I mean, call it what it is a cult. And, it's hippie-ish, I guess. Free love. It's all about love.
Yeah,
and
man.
All the drugs and all the alcohol. And, man, it's just...
all the sex.
She had like 15 fathers because she wanted 15 different penises, I guess. I don't know, man.
It's a lot of baby daddy.
It is, which is crazy because they didn't say it in the documentary, but I'm sure at one point there was pregnancies going on. I guess I don't know. Like I don't know, but Shay made me watch it, and now it makes me sad. It makes me question Shay's recommendations from here on out.
I can vouch for Shay. He's good. This is good. Because honestly, me and Sonia are on episode 2. We haven't finished. It's only 3 episodes. It's a 3-episode docuseries, so it's real quick. But the same day that he had posted that, I saw something on TikTok. A friend of mine sent me something on TikTok, and it was a recommendation, or it was a review of that same docuseries. So I'm like, oh man, this looks nuts. So yeah, I'll check it out. And then I saw somebody else post it, and then Shay posted. I'm like, okay, that's 3. When I get three hits on one thing that I haven't heard of before, then I'm like, okay, I need to go and look into this. And yeah, it's pretty nuts. And the fact that it's so funny how she was climbing the ranks of McDonald's before,
she was being successful.
Yeah, like she was a store manager, or a store owner.
Yeah.
An owner is a lot different than a manager. So she owned her own branch of McDonald's at what, like 22 or something like that. She was so young, one of the youngest females to own her own McDonald's franchise. So that was crazy. And so obviously, like, money wasn't any kind of motivating factor for her. So yeah, she goes and does this whole pilgrimage of people. I don't know, but Sonia was saying the same thing when we were watching it. She's like, how do people believe this? How do people get wrapped up with stuff like this? And I said, well, it's just like, maybe. I'm like, there are a certain level of psychedelics that sway your decision making, but I think also it stems from the root of people a lot of people that tend to follow in these more extreme cults, they tend to be weak-minded. They tend to be followers of leaders, like they have that kind
Mm-hmm.
of personality trait, and or they're just not mentally capable of formulating their own path. And you take all these factors in, and it just kind of, you build a flock. It's just like Manson, all these other cults that you hear about over history, David Koresh, just, these people
Mm-hmm.
tend to believe what you're putting down. And it's like there's a fan base for everything out there, and
There
I
is.
would like to say that the Screen Addicts flock is my personal favorite, but
The fanatics are
the,
strong,
the
baby.
fanatics are, and but not that we would ever put them at risk for anything, nor would they
Correct.
put us at risk. I mean, because the series opens with her dead. I mean, they had her mummified in blankets, and she's like a dead corpse. That's not a
There's like
spoiler.
12 days after she
Died,
died.
right. So it's like they see her vessel. I mean, it was so
Mm.
bizarre, but I love watching stuff like that, man. I just think it's so crazy, and I was fully into it so far, but we start it late and then we fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I recommend that show just because of its bizarre nature and just the story that it's telling.
And you teeter on whether it's right or wrong if our listeners cause harm, because I feel like this caused harm
Yeah.
to my brain, and Shay caused me harm
Right.
watching this documentary, because not only, and I'm going to continue on with my recently watched,
Sure.
not because after you watch something it has, hey, we recommend this,
Oh boy.
you should. And so me and Tasha got into that documentary too. She, in her exact words, why are people so fucking crazy? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. They are. And so then the next thing I watch is another 3-episode documentary on Jared Fogle,
Oh, the Subway guy.
the Subway guy.
Yeah.
Talk about messed up in the head. This
Oh
dude
yeah.
was messed up in the head. And oh man, okay, I just watched 2 really messed up documentaries because Shay. I blame him.
Right.
I need him to redeem himself. Next week, a recommendation that's worth it, please, Shay. But yeah, those 2 documentaries, what I watched, and then I also went on a binge of Jennifer Lawrence. Apparently, I was in the mood for Jennifer Lawrence, and
Aren't we
so
all?
so it started off with all the Hunger Games movies because, well, the new Hunger Games prequel is coming out, which, if and we haven't stated as of yet, but our main topic tonight is, what franchises do we think would benefit or have really good prequels, prequel series. So
Mhm.
we'll get into that later, because, well, I still haven't watched the new Hunger Games yet,
Mhm.
but I hear it's really, really good. Probably from what I hear, people are saying it's like probably the second best movie in the franchise.
Wow.
So we'll get into that later. But watched all the Hunger Games movies, and then I watched No Hard Feelings, Jennifer Lawrence's new raunchy comedy, and it is raunchy. I tell you, you get Jennifer Lawrence fully nude, and
Clearly, the marketing worked for you.
I mean, absolutely. But okay. That aside, it's actually a really good, funny movie.
Yeah.
If you're into those kind of raunchy comedies like that, like an American Pie or anything, this one is right up your alley. It has just that comedy, and Jennifer Lawrence is really good at comedy, man.
Yeah.
Like, not a lot of people, I guess, know her as a comedic actress because of Hunger Games. But I mean, if you ever watched her interviews or anything like that, she is pretty funny,
Mhm.
and she lets it fly in this one for sure, man. And it's good. So if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend No Hard Feelings. It's a good movie.
I recommend it too. I thought it was really funny. I like how unapologetically R-rated it was too. And they said a lot of things that people could take away as offensive, but look at that. You said some really dark, raunchy shit and nobody was offended by it. I didn't hear anybody calling for that movie to be canceled for any particular reason. And because comedy's comedy and it's funny's funny. And it's funny because like with Jennifer Lawrence and herself, that as far as her filmmaking career goes, she pretty much got started with Winter's Bone and getting nominated for an Oscar right off the bat. But even prior to that, like I don't think a lot of people realize that she was on the Bill Engvall show. She played his daughter on the Bill Engvall show, and Bill Engvall is one of the the redneck, or what are the comedy rednecks, with Jeff Foxworthy and Larry the Cable Guy, Ron White.
They're called.
I can't believe I forgot their names. That's gonna mess with me. But yeah, he was part of that crew, and before that, he had his own television series, and it was pretty funny. And she's funny in it, so it's like she has good comedic timing. And I like what you said about her interviews because she always showcases a lot of personality whenever she's promoting any of her films. And so, getting a chance to watch her in a comedy that's great for her. Plus that I thought that movie was funny because it was from the creator of Jury Duty, the Prime Freevee series that came out and just swept the audiences up this last summer because it was so funny. And I agree. I thought it was good. But you said you watched a Jennifer Lawrence binge, so you watched more than that, right? You said what else did you see?
All the Hunger Games. And
right, okay.
And then that. So
hey, let me ask you real quick. So if you watched all the Hunger Games, which one did you think was the best? Because there's 4 of them, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it kind of does a Harry Potter thing where I read all the books too, by the way.
Oh yeah.
But, the last book was made into 2 movies. So there's 4 movies, but the last 2 are like 1.
I got you.
If you know,
like Breaking Dawn.
Yeah, I read all those books too. Anyway, no, I think to me, man, Catching Fire is the best one.
Yeah, that one is pretty good.
I love that one. It's really good.
I think that's pretty much the universal conceit too. I think Catching Fire is probably the fan favorite because what is it? Mockingjay. The last one's Mockingjay 1 and 2.
The last one.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And then what else have I watched? I think that was it. Football.
Oh yeah, football.
Football, and then been busy. So, and I looked it up. It's the Blue Collar Comedy Tour.
That's it. Duh. That's
you went from red to blue. It was so complete opposite.
Well, I meant like redneck, and not like red state. But same difference, I guess. But yeah, the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. I thought it would be something else. I don't know. That still doesn't sound right to me. But I guess it is.
That's what it was.
No, I believe you. I don't know why in my head I thought it was something else. But all right, well,
it's because of Jeff Foxworthy's "You might be a redneck if."
That's exactly right.
Jokes.
You're right. So like his whole shtick was the redneck. That's probably what I had in my head. Well, my mom was in town for this last week. So
hi, Esther.
Hi, Ma. And so, well, she's gone now, but I appreciate it. And anytime she's here, let me tell you, I'm going to be catching up on movies that are pretty much marketed to the 60 and older crowd. Because, dude, get these movies that I watched. Okay,
80 for Brady.
That's one of them. I'm gonna see if you can guess another one too. It's a sequel, and it's got 4 elderly women. And I mean, they're not like elderly, but it's a sequel. It's on Prime and Paramount. It just came out. It deals with
a book club.
Yes. So we watched Book Club Chapter 2, and I know I saw the first one with Sonia, and she doesn't remember it. I didn't remember it, but then when I was watching Chapter 2 with my mom, I said, let's watch this. Or she was like, yeah, I want to watch it. I'm like, I don't remember part 1. Like, what happened? And then as I'm watching 2, I'm like, oh, that's right. She ends up with him, and she ends up with him, and this and that. So it was all coming back to me, like at the end, or watching the second one. The second one's okay. They all go to Italy this time. So, and it's so funny because like my mom has been talking about wanting to go to Italy and Tuscany. Specifically for ever since she saw Under the Tuscan Sun like 20 years ago. She's just like, so watching that movie, she's really pushing.
Really pining now.
Yeah, she's really pushing to go.
Take her for Mother's Day. Be a good son.
Yeah, I'll do that. And if I could, but So yeah, we watched that. 80 for Brady is absolutely ridiculous, man. It is just so silly. It's definitely a fantasy film because
Mm-hmm.
there's a point, and yeah, I probably will spoil it because I don't think our listening audiences were clamoring for 80 for Brady. But there's a situation where the one of the women played by Lily Tomlin is dying of, she got re-diagnosed with cancer, so she thinks she's gonna die. So these women have been fans of Tom Brady specifically, not so
Mm-hmm.
much the Patriots, but Tom Brady. So they're following his career, they're following all the championships, and it centers on the Super Bowl in 2017 where they played the Falcons, you know, the most glorious comeback of Super Bowl
Yep.
history and this and that. And so there's so much like revisionist history where they make it a point to have the women get fed up with the game and how it's going and how they end up in the press box and all this stuff, and they end up in the offensive coordinators like section. So they go in there, Lily Tomlin puts on headphones and she's like, Tom, can you hear me? And she's like talking to Tom Brady and telling him like her story and like how, and it motivates him to go in and win the game. So it's
Oh
just
my
like, it's
gosh.
so silly. And then like in the end, they're in the locker room talking and it's just so goofy, man. But I think it's also kind of fun. Like I love revisionist history. I think it's so
Mm-hmm.
much fun. I think you can have a lot of fun with it where you kind of imply that something happened, and of course my mom's like, did that really happen? I'm like, no, mother. I'm like, the game did. They came back from, 27-3 deficit, but all this other stuff. I'm like, what probably happened were that the four women were fans of Tom Brady. They went to the game. Somehow one of their posts got, lit up on social
Mm-hmm.
media. And then they're like, hey, this would be an interesting idea for a movie. And that's how you get 80 for Brady. And there was
Oh
another one
man.
that we saw on Prime, and it has Michael Douglas and Diane Keaton called And So It Goes. And I was like, oh, what is this? I've never even heard of this movie. Came out like 4 years ago, and we're watching it, and it's directed by Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner, Mr. Princess Bride, When Harry Met
Mm-hmm.
Sally, Misery, like classic films that this guy has done. The American President, like this. I'm like, wow, yeah, let's definitely watch this because he's always pretty good. I actually thought that was pretty interesting. Michael Douglas plays a real estate agent up north and owns this like quadplex, and his three other neighbors don't like him because he's so grumpy and mean. And then his son brings his granddaughter, and I have to go to jail, so can you watch my daughter? And so the whole relationship with the grandpa granddaughter melting the iron heart, the frosted
Mm-hmm.
heart and stuff like that. And it was really good. I thought that was kind of interesting. We also, oh man, me and my mom, pretty much when we weren't watching those movies, we were watching Frasier because the new Frasier
I was about to say
revival
there's a
series
new
started.
Frasier.
My mom doesn't really like it because not a lot of the old cast is back. John Mahoney, his dad, is dead, so Daphne and Niles aren't even in the show. So she's just kind of, I don't
Oh,
know.
that
Let
sucks.
Yeah, and it deals with like his son and his nephew. Niles' son. So I was like, well, all right. I'm like, well, we can always watch the old one. And she's like, oh, the old one's on here? I'm like, yeah. So we ended up watching like the first two seasons of Frasier. Man, that
Wow.
show is hilarious, man. It is
Oh
so
yeah.
funny. Shows like that are so much better when you're older because it's like when Sonia and I were binge watching Cheers. I was like, this show is hilarious. Like, I thought it was kind of funny younger when my mom would watch it, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
understand it because you're not an adult. And watching Frasier, this blew me away. How old do you think Frasier was when that show started? Just thinking about how he looked.
Character wise,
Well, I mean,
that
just Kelsey
or
Grammer character,
Kelsey
it's
Grammer.
about the same.
I would say 45.
Okay, well, that was way closer than I said. I thought he was like 50. He's 40 years old in that
Oh,
show. And I'm like,
he's our
what?
age.
Yes. I was like, what? Do I look as old as Frasier does here? And they were like, no, men look older back in the day for some reason. Um, but yeah, Frasier, it holds up. It's even better than I remembered it. And Sonia and I started two shows on Apple Plus and finished them. We watched the second season of Slow Horses, the Gary Oldman spy series. That's so good. It's not a comedy, but man, the comedy jokes in it, like his sarcastic wit, the things he says to his team of rejects is so
Mm-hmm.
funny. And season 3 actually just dropped this week, so we'll be watching that. And I loved it. We watched Hijack, the Idris Elba uh, Apple show. It was
Mm-hmm.
okay. I thought that probably could have trimmed an episode or two off of it. It seemed like it was dragging on a little bit. but it was fine. And we also started Rings of Power, finally, the Amazon Prime Lord of the Rings series.
Whoa! I
Yeah,
watched that, and you. Well, I am TVB, so it
you are
wasn't a
TV.
movie, so
Right.
you
But
get a
I mean,
pass.
it's
Okay.
okay. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
we're like halfway through it right now, and it really isn't all that, like, I mean, visually it's impressive. I think the
Yeah.
sets, the production value are top notch. I mean, it has to be. It's the most expensive television series ever made. But
Mm-hmm.
story isn't really as grabbing as I want it to be.
It picks up in the end.
Okay, good. Cuz
It picks up not a lot,
yeah.
but more than what the first half is.
Okay.
Definitely the end chapters over towards the back end are a lot better than the beginning, but
Right.
it's just like a Lord of the Rings. Like, you need all that story to tell the end and get that
Yeah.
the action going and all the fast paced stuff
Yeah.
to be able to get it and be really into it. So keep going.
Okay. Well, I mean,
It'll
yeah,
get better.
we will, but it's just like, well, this, I mean, I kind of understand why it didn't really get much discussion when it
Mm-hmm.
came out, but it's fine, because it wasn't like one of those shows that were water cooler talk. Like, people weren't talking about
Right.
it like you'd think, like House of the
Not,
Dragon or
yeah, it's like
something,
House of, yeah.
and it's just unfortunate. But so far, it's good. It's not bad. It's just not amazing or anything.
Right.
But there is my final recently watched. It's not really mine. It's actually my son Connor's, who has actually been on the show before, and
Mm-hmm.
I felt like you would appreciate this more than anybody. He is currently binging Big Brother.
Oh, that's my man. Yeah, boy.
I said, Connor, if you're ever gonna get in Chris's good graces, this is gonna do it. And he is, but he's not starting from the beginning. I think he's actually
The
on.
beginning's bad.
Right.
So,
I think he tried and he was like, I'm going to just go more recently
yeah,
to
yeah.
like characters that he knows from the
Mm-hmm.
challenge, basically. And he's on one right now. I think it's like 4 or 5 seasons back. It has Tyler and Angela, Fessy. What
Oh,
is
he needs to go back even further than that.
Ethan, go back.
Like season 11, I think the best season to start, and it's kind of where I started. I think it's season 11. I have to look and I'll text you.
Yeah.
But it's a season with Evil Dick. Dude,
Okay.
that season will get you into Big Brother
I
because
might tune in myself.
because it's a season where they bring in like there's half of the house that are kids, or not kids, but like daughters and sons
Oh, okay.
of the other half of the house,
Huh.
of the people like their moms and dads that are aunts and uncles that they haven't talked in a long time.
Okay.
And so Evil Dick is the dad of this other player, and
Is he
I
good
mean
dick?
he's got the name Evil Dick for a reason. Like, I would put this dude up against like well, who's Connor's favorite villain in Survivor?
I mean, he likes he.
He
I mean,
wore the hat, bald
Russell.
headed
He likes
Russell.
Russell. Yeah.
Yes. So the shit that Evil Dick does in his Big Brother season,
Yeah.
like, would compete against Russell, man.
Wow. Okay, I'll definitely share that then. If I have to just say Russell, like, and he's worse than Russell, he'll have to see it for himself. But yeah,
Yeah.
and I thought, oh man. And then I was like, wait, bro, Amazing Race is next. He's like, no, never. I'm like, you said all that shit about Big Brother, and now look at you. It's next.
And then because you get a bunch of like Big Brother and Survivor people that go
Right.
play Amazing Race.
Right. And I think that's the pull for him. I mean, this kid loves a reality competition series. Like, this is his bread and butter. And between the challenge and Survivor and all that stuff, like, I think there's like a certain cohesiveness that's working right now. It's all working in tandem with each other. And it's almost like if you like one, well, now I got to go see what they're doing on the other one,
Yeah.
But that's
and then there's the Golden Bachelor.
oh my god! Let's just get into headlines because I think that's gonna top it. So, all All right. So as you mentioned, I read something about the Golden Bachelor. I think you probably know more about it. So please give us our first headline here.
I mean, the only thing that I've read about the Golden Bachelor, and I think that's today sometime, and I may get this headline wrong if because I'm trying to remember it correctly.
Sure.
That like he dumped the guy that went on the show, like dumped a bunch of his girlfriends or what, so he could be on the show with all these other women. I don't know if that's the one you were thinking of, but that's what
No,
I read today.
that's what I read too. Like he had like a full on life before he
Yeah.
decided to come on the show. But I was like, I don't know, maybe he could just do the show and not well, I guess the whole point of it is to get married, right? Isn't that
Right.
the
Find love.
do you get I've never watched The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. Do you get married? Are you forced into marriage
That
or something?
I don't think so. I think that option is there, and that's what they push for.
Right.
Is like, hey, you actually fell in love. Now let's do the after show at your wedding or some shit like that.
This is a
And I,
pro-nuptial agreement.
yeah. So I think in all of the Bachelor history, I think only like one or two are still married ever. So,
Wow, I think it's like one of the earlier ones too, right? I think that
mm-hmm.
man, that's so funny. But yeah, I read about that too. I was like, this dude, I guess he was married or with a woman for a long time, and yeah, he decided, we're good. I'm about to be a celebrity. Was it that evil dick guy? Could be.
Could have been.
It's been a long time since he graced Big Brother, but
Mm-hmm.
so my first headline is something that's a bit of a doozy, and it deals with actress Melissa Barrera and actress Jenna Ortega, both out of Scream 7.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, when I read this, I all I saw were like the headlines that said Melissa Barrera is no longer in Scream 7. Management's been pulling her name from the show, and I was like, what is going on? And of course, it had to deal with her voicing her political beliefs, and especially pertaining to the state of Israel and Palestine and the war that's going on over there. And of course, we don't get into politics. We don't do anything.
Nope.
I know we got
Nope.
into religion earlier, but that's more of like a parody of sorts. It's not like something ultra realistic, but and I'm not going to get into it today or what I think or what they think if they're right or wrong, but I was just completely shocked by that because and you know, after I saw what she said, I'm like, well, you know, a lot of the CEOs and managers of some of these big studio films are of the Jewish faith, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
so most of them are probably pro-Israel. And if you go and say something like that, you're offending what they believe, so they're going to have you removed from the movie. And that's exactly what happened because she was posting some pretty, you know, pretty direct things. And but man, I was just like, wow, that's crazy because the whole movie was centered around her. She's the main character of this new movie. She's basically like the new Sydney Prescott. All the stories revolve around her. She's Billy
Mm-hmm.
Loomis's daughter, so she has that legacy factor, you know, from the original series. And if anybody's watched the last two Scream movies, you can tell that it's pushing for her to possibly have this I can't say development, but this character arc where she ends up becoming crazy and she ends up being the killer. I thought it was going to happen in the last one. Spoilers for Scream 6, but it didn't. And but you could see that happening. And then Jenna Ortega comes in and she is signing off on her contract for Scream 7 as well because she's in solidarity with Melissa Barrera. But I thought something that was interesting that came out in the news yesterday was that I guess her manager or publicist said, "Look, we believe what you're saying, and we support your decision, but you've got to word it differently because you're going to get blacklisted from Hollywood if you don't say something
Mm-hmm.
like what they ended up saying." So they released a press statement saying that Jenna Ortega removed herself from Screen 7 due to financial compensation for her contract. So the publicist made it seem like she left Scream 7 because she wasn't getting paid enough money for the movie, which I guess is kind of a valid statement because, you know, with Wednesday and all these other projects that are coming out for her. Beetlejuice too. Yeah, she's blown up. Like, she's so big, and I don't think they even anticipated that happening when they made Scream 5 with her, because that was before Wednesday. That was before all this stuff. So there is an argument to be made that says, hey, look, my value as a star is higher than it's ever been. So I think that her publicist and her management team said, look, we're going to fashion it to say that that's why you left, because even if you left in support of Barrera's decision or your own personal beliefs, you will not be able to work or do anything. You can kiss all this goodbye if you don't play ball in that regard. But it could go either way. I'm not assuming anything, but yeah, I thought that was just shocking news, though, because I mean, like I said, those two girls, and they're sisters in the movies, so the whole new story canon revolves around them. Like, the whole thing is them and their whole relationship with each other, their relationship to the original characters, and they've even like phased out like Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette. Hell, Nev Campbell isn't even in this one. This is the first one that she's not even in, and it's not because her character died or anything. They didn't renew her contract for it, and they didn't want to pay her. So I also read something that they're trying to get her and Patrick Dempsey to come back into Scream 7, because they're like, okay, we need some star power. We need our leads back. And if people remember the events that happened in Scream 3, Patrick Dempsey played a cop that Sidney Prescott, initially engages a relationship with at the end of the movie. And she even mentions his name a couple of times in the last two that she did. So you know that they're still together. So I'm thinking that that's going to happen. But I don't know. It's just, I bet you they'll pay Nev Campbell what she's worth now. But that was the reason why she wasn't there. So
bring in Buffy.
Oh, well, she died in part 2, but she could play somebody else, why not? But my second headline that I had is Ted the Teddy Bear. Seth MacFarlane's foul-mouthed Ted is back in a prequel series on Peacock. So that also, I should have saved that as like, well, I can't save it as like a personal pick, but that goes in line with what we're talking about this week. And damn it, I should have made that my last headline. You know what? No, it's okay. So Ted the prequel series is coming out on January 11th, and it's apparently Mark Wahlberg's character, but when he was in high school. So it's going to show this bosoming friendship. And I think what's going to be really funny about it is that Ted was an innocent little teddy bear until he hit puberty. Just like all of us, Chris. We were cute, cuddly Care Bears, and then, damn it, puberty kicks in. We're monsters.
Damn hormones.
Yeah. And so I think that the development or lack thereof of Ted is going to be pretty funny in that series. I saw something else today, but I didn't write it down. So maybe I'll remember next week. But my final headline pertains to the Hunger Games series. And it is, of course, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes hit number 1, not 1, but 2 weeks in a row. So it's not matching the numbers from the original Hunger Games series, but it's doing pretty well for itself. It's grossed over $100 million in 2 weeks. So that's good. It had a pretty strong opening weekend of like 60 million, I want to say. So I think that's a pretty good run for it. And like myself, I heard that it was pretty good. I haven't had a chance to see it. I've just been so busy. And then when my mom was here, I was like, yeah, how am I going to talk my mom into go seeing a prequel to the Hunger Games that she's never even seen that either? But I still haven't seen the Marvels, which, yeah, I admit it, I kind of want to see it. I heard it was good. I know you're probably not going to be going, and but I want to see it. I don't have a problem with it. But hey, that's why I'm Cinema Steven, man. This is my sometimes burden to bear.
I'll watch it when it comes to streaming.
Yeah, I guess I could do that too. But yeah, so in lieu of the success that Songbirds and Snakes is having, I think that kind of led us to think, what other possible options what we would have for a good prequel series. Now, some of the ones that we were going to be talking about, we're not going to say stuff that's already happened before. Because, like, for example, a prequel to the Lord of the Rings. Yeah, that's called The Hobbit. And now The Rings of Power. They've got 2 prequels. So
a prequel to the prequel.
I guess if you want to talk about a good prequel to a prequel, that could possibly work. I do have one. So, I mean, that could be interesting. But, I mean, Chris, so what are you thinking of? Like, would be a good prequel? Like, off the top of your head, what would you say?
Off the top of my head, man, I would think, just so I could get more story, and I don't know. It's maybe a selfish pick.
Sure.
But I would love to see a prequel, not necessarily a series, but maybe a movie.
Yeah, it could be movies, a
A
trilogy
movie.
or something.
Maybe it's a good
Maybe
one.
not
Just
that many.
one. Just
Okay.
one. Last of the Mohicans. I mean,
Of course.
it's one of my all-time favorite movies, of course. But I mean, just to see them, the brothers growing up and seeing what they had to deal with and all of that stuff, man. I think, again, selfishly, I love that. The Last of the Mohicans movie, as everybody knows, probably my number one favorite movie of all time. But to get more story, more out of it, more anything like that, that's definitely one I'd love to see.
That's interesting too, because they talk about, because Hawkeye, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, is
Mm-hmm.
white. Like, he's obviously a white man. He's not in a situation where he's playing, you know, like ethnically speaking,
Right.
right? So
And they know he's like the adopted son.
right, and I
Well,
think
how did he become to be adopted?
that's what I'm talking about here. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that could be really good. And it's funny because I texted Chris yesterday, listeners, that I sent him a screenshot of me listening to Trevor Jones's score, specifically the Elk Hunt
Mm-hmm.
song, and I said I'm playing this for Connor, educating the boy on proper film scores. So, and the music in that movie is still just, it's
The
so
best.
good, man.
Yeah.
I could just fire that soundtrack up and just go with it. But that's
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty good. I was thinking of something on the lines of, I mean, you know what? Even for like Harry Potter fans out there,
Mm-hmm.
hey, how did Hogwarts get started? Was it a
Right.
situation of like Charles Xavier's School for the Gifted or something? Did he was like, oh, there's mutants with powers, let's just start a school? I think it's something similar to that. And again, this is me not reading any of the books, but even in Fantastic Beasts, like Dumbledore is there running Hogwarts already. So even in that prequel
Mm-hmm.
series, I want to see, Dumbledore and McGonagall maybe find the first wizard, or just discovering the notion of wizards. And, how is it that people have these abilities? Oh, well, we need to get them together and put them in an environment that's safe and can help learn from each other and teach them how to do this. So I'm saying, like, you just call it Hogwarts. Why not? I think that actually would be pretty interesting to see. And I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan,
Mm-hmm.
but I think Hogwarts would be a pretty good shit. You can make that a whole series too, man. Like, that
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
even need to be
easily.
one movie. That could be a trilogy. That could be like a whole series on whatever, Max or something. And that's another thing too about Harry Potter. It's like, I don't understand why they're having such difficulty with this franchise, especially with the Fantastic Beasts. And that last one was terrible, man. It
Oh, it
was
was bad.
so bad. I was like, this
Yeah.
sucks. And I love Matt Mikkelsen. Like, this is terrible. But I don't know why there's such apprehension to continue the story. Like, you can have Harry and Hermione as parents showing their kids, and who cares? Like, intertwine it all together. But I
Yeah.
think Hogwarts would be pretty good. You have another one, or?
I think I do have another one, and I think they're trying to do something like this, but it's I don't think it's I don't think it hit as good as they wish it would had. So I think going back and doing it right, but a prequel series, it definitely would have to be a series, TV series or trilogy of movies again. But John Wick, on how John Wick
Oh, right.
became such a badass.
Yeah.
Because in the first movie, I mean, they're already
Yeah.
scared the shit out of it. Like they're scared of him.
Mm-hmm.
But how did everybody get so afraid of him?
Right.
Like his come up from like when he first entered the system, you
Right.
know?
No, that would be good.
I think showing just like, all right, how did he become, first of all, how was he able to be in it? And then how many fucking people did he kill?
Apparently a lot.
A shitload. So,
Well, it's funny because, like, the Continental that came out on Peacock, right? I thought it was
mhm.
okay, but it wasn't. the Continental was already there. So I thought the
Yeah.
whole point of the show was to
Mm-hmm.
create the Continental, the safe haven for assassins. But they had already done it. And basically it's just showing like Winston's rise to power and Winston's claim to being the manager of the Continental. And I'm like, okay, well
Mm-hmm.
that's cool, but I mean, where was John Wick? You know, it's like this is the whole thing. It's like if you're going to show a prequel, at
Right.
least give us something with Wick. And I mean, maybe they did. I didn't even finish the last episode. I will. I haven't yet. But it was
Right.
just I thought, okay, I thought they were going to show them building the Continental, establishing the rules. Like maybe
Right.
assassins were killing each other in the Continental, which would have been awesome to see. And then
Mm-hmm.
you establish the rule that this is holy ground, sacred ground. Okay, well, where was any of that? So I kind of thought that that was a big missed opportunity there. But to have maybe another season where they do that, I guess, would be good. And this is where you could really put John Wick as a character that they find. And
And that was kind of a point. I mean, like I said, I know the Continental came out,
yeah,
but I don't think it hit like we
no,
wanted it to hit.
no, I
And
definitely
so you
didn't.
go back and you do it right
Yeah.
and give us that story that we want
Hmm.
and people need. Like, I think then that's when it would take off.
Yeah. You know, another one that I was thinking of was like, I would like to see Ocean's 11, all of them young. Like, because apparently they're all really tight. They all trust each other. They all work well together. And they have a long history of doing so. And I thought,
So,
man, you could recast them as like younger counterparts with new actors. I mean, I don't think anybody would have like a certain level of charm and charisma that the existing characters or the existing actors did. But
mhm.
I think that would be kind of fun too. Like you can make a whole series of that.
Dude, them in high school trying to steal tests.
Right. Like starts there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be funny. I mean, just you could do anything with that. Maybe did you have one or
Go ahead.
yeah, I was just thinking like of course Jurassic Park. You know, I think it
Mm-hmm.
would be interesting to see the actual development of the dinosaurs, seeing the dig, and then because they had to get those dinosaurs in all those traps somehow. I know that there's a little bit of an opening sequence with the raptors, but I really wanted to see them developing the dinosaurs, learning the behavioral patterns of the dinosaurs, learning, okay, well, maybe we can't coexist. I mean, because there's some animals you can domesticate and
Yeah.
they're fine. Maybe they tried domesticating dinosaurs and they ate people, you know, like opening of Jurassic Park or Jurassic World or something. I think that would be kind of interesting to do.
Mm-hmm.
I guess really the one that I had too, like the main one that I kind of stuck my guns with is like, I mean, Star Wars. You know, I mean, you can go back. Rings of Power made
Oh
me think
man.
like if you're going back thousands of years, why not go thousands of years or maybe even 100 years in Star Wars? Because you know, you talk about the Jedi, you call it like the first Jedi. You know, someone who becomes the first
Mm-hmm.
person to feel the force, to obtain the force, to understand what it is. Like somehow I'm different from everybody else. I feel this thing. I can do these things, like become the first
Mm-hmm.
Jedi, you know, understand that power. And then in doing so, you create your polar opposite, which is the Sith, the evil perspective. So you'd have to have two and just kind of branch off from there, like learn,
Yeah.
learn, lightsabers. Like I'm going to make this weapon out of these kyber crystals, and then this is going to be the Jedi weapon. You know, like establish these rules because
Yeah.
even in Star Wars or in Episode 1, they're already Jedi. You know, there's Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan. It's just like a prequel to the existing storyline. But like, make the first, and I'm sure they've done it before I get like bombarded with emails and comments like they wrote a book about it, you idiot, it's the first Jedi. Like, okay, cool, maybe I'll go
Make
read
a
it.
movie.
Right, but I'm saying adapt that into a movie, you know.
Yep.
And I think there's another news that Dave Filoni is going to be the
The head
acting
of
what is it, the head of creative, the head of something
yeah,
with
but
Luke.
it's his baby now.
So I mean, my God, the what they're going to go with his perspective, I cannot wait to see what he does with that
Oh yeah.
franchise. But yeah, so and maybe he'll do the first Jedi, who knows. I know Tony Gilroy had mentioned something like that before. He's like, I would really want to go back to the beginning when he was promoting Andor and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. So I think that would be cool.
Ooh, same breath. Let's do a young Jean-Luc Picard in prequels to Star Trek too.
Yeah, well, because I mean, you're right. Like they've done the original fleet, like um Captain Kirk. They always
Mm-hmm.
do Captain Kirk. I mean, have they made? I don't. Yeah, I guess they've never made like a young Jean-Luc Picard, because even the Picard series is like him present day,
Old as
basically.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that'd be kind of cool. You know what? I want to see a Goonies prequel with One-Eyed
Hey,
Willie and make it a pirate movie.
there you
That would be badass.
go.
Or like Bloodsport, the first Kumite.
Dude,
I mean, we're
that'd be
going back.
amazing. Oh yeah.
I mean, you think about it. It's like you could have like a Rocky movie when he's really young, or no,
Mm-hmm.
Rambo. Show Rambo in the war, like what he did in the
Oh,
war to mess him. Dude, that would be pretty badass.
I'm
But
down with that.
but yeah, so
Hollywood, hire us for the
we will
prequels.
write any prequel you want.
Mm-hmm.
But like, did you watch the Divergent series? Didn't you tell me you watched that?
I was going to
You were going
because
to. Okay.
of our binge
Yeah.
of Hunger Games, but then I read a lot of, and this is bad. I know I shouldn't, and I tell everybody else, don't believe other reviews. Just watch it for yourself.
Right.
But I read a lot of reviews, and they were like, nah,
Yeah.
don't watch it. I was like,
I was
okay.
kind of negative on it too, man. My bad. But I thought the first one was okay. I didn't think it was too bad. The
Mm-hmm.
second two were, what is it, Resurgent, Insurgent, something. I don't know.
Insurgent and Resurgent.
Yeah, they were all right. They were just forcing them at that point. But I think even with that, like you could probably have a prequel. Maze Runner could have a prequel. Like, how did that maze get made? Let's see that.
Yeah.
But
And I also forgot in my recently watch, I sat down and watched the Percy Jackson movies with my son.
Yeah.
So I think prequels to Percy Jackson. I know that new series is coming out,
Right.
so maybe I get a little bit of that. I don't know, but
That would be cool.
Percy Jackson. I always like those Greek mythology stories and movies. Those really neat too.
Yeah.
So
You look like a Greek god, so that makes sense to me.
that's right.
Well,
Which one?
I don't know. Hades.
Is there a Greek god of food? Because that would be me.
Foodos. I don't know. Maybe. Great. Now the Greek historians are gonna come after us, Chris. We watch movies about. If it wasn't in Clash of the Titans, then I don't know. Or Hercules, forget it. But yeah, man, I guess that's it. I mean, if anybody else has any, please do so. Comment, let us know what you would think would make for a good prequel series or show or anything. But I thought that was interesting.
Predator. Oh, they already did it. Never mind.
Apparently, they almost did it again with Prey No Man's Land. Damn, I can't believe that.
Art.
I can't. That was the best fan art I've ever seen in my life, man. I can't believe I fell for that.
It's all right. We all did, friend. You're not the only one.
Well, before you sign off, man, how was your Thanksgiving? I forgot to ask you.
It was good, man. Busy. The oldest is full-fledged into wrestling now, so it's all wrestling tournaments. God, we have so many.
Dude, you sent me that schedule, and I was just blown away by how many tournaments they have now. We would have like maybe one a month. One a month. Now there's like one every weekend, it seems like.
Yep.
It's crazy.
For sure. But how was yours, man?
It was pretty good. With the holidays, people tend to get riled up, emotionally. And sometimes that happens to a point where people might need to talk to a counselor or therapist, for that matter.
Always.
And if you still feel that way, I highly suggest you go over to betterhelp.com/screen addicts. And if you need to talk to anybody about anything, maybe the turkey was dry or your parents are really terrible to you.
Hey, man, Thanksgiving PTSD is a thing.
It really can be. And luckily, I didn't have to deal with that. My mom was awesome. The kids were both, Madison came into town, brought her new dog, Leo, giving a shout out to Leo, his cute little pup. And
Leo needs to meet my Abby. They're both same kind of dog.
Oh, are they really? Oh, man. Yeah, they'd be besties. But yeah, but like I said, if you need to talk to anybody about anything, and holidays are coming up too, man. Holidays are pretty rough on people, some people, and they can be stressful for a multitude of reasons. You may not be able to get gifts for everybody or gifts for yourself, or might not get to share it with anybody to just be with. And like,
Right.
again, betterhelp.com/screen addicts, you can go and sign up, get 10% off your first session, and you can choose a therapist of your liking, and they will talk to you about anything that you want to talk about. And I think, again, holidays are a good time to do so. But aside from
Absolutely.
that, I'm glad that your Thanksgiving went well, and Christmas is coming up, man.
What are you going to buy me?
Let me think. I have already given you the gift of friendship and podcast host, co-host.
I need a
But
receipt.
damn it, I threw it away.
Hey, how about, you know what I'm going to get you?
What?
I'm going to get you something from our merch store, my friend.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Okay. Screen Addicts t-shirts, mugs, sweaters. Just go to our link tree and it's on there. You can find. Hey, you know what? If you're one of our fanatics, it's the greatest gift to get yourself.
Right.
Some Screen Addicts, some merch.
Treat yourself.
Who wouldn't want a t-shirt with me and Steven's face on it?
I mean, I can't think of a single person who wouldn't. No, I'll tell you what I'm going to get you for, since we're just plugging everything, I'm going to get you a new razor from Manscaped.
Manscaped.
And if you want, you can put in our promo code Screen Addicts at Manscaped and save 20% off your order and free shipping. Do the handyman razor, no joke. I know it's like, oh, they're just plugging their shit, but no, the handyman is like, it's awesome, dude. I love it. I use it every day. I mean, I don't have that beautiful mane like you do, but I mean, I won't ever, because I just fire up the handyman, do a quick little razor shave, and it's pretty good, man.
Then you're good to go, huh?
Good to go. And it's my face that I'm shaving too, Chris, just to let you know. But the lawnmower 5.0 goes all the way downstairs.
That's right. Santa keeps both his sacks clean and crisp, baby.
You're jumping on our ad now.
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
It's a preview.
All right. I think that's it, Steven. It has been a great episode. Thank you guys for always listening and tuning in to the Screen Addicts podcast, wherever you're listening to, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Hopefully we made your Wrapped Spotify list. And if you didn't, we got something to talk about, because we need to be in that top 5.
I feel bad because some people actually did tag us in it, and I didn't share because I'm a terrible social media person. But Kev the Rev Fuller, who was on earlier, he actually just mentioned it to us that we made his top 5. And Shay,
shout out Kev.
And Shay, who you were dogging on earlier, we weren't just 5, we were numero uno on his list, baby. So
that our boy Shay, you have redeemed yourself.
So if you have any of our if you have the show on your Spotify Wrap, yeah, tag us, we'll share it. That's awesome. We thank you all for listening too.
Absolutely. And so wherever you're listening to, go ahead and leave us a review. We would love it. And 5 stars would be great. Helps us get seen on the podcast world a little bit easier. And then go ahead, head over to any of the social medias, whether you have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X. Just look for the Screen Addicts podcast. Just look for our cover art. You're bound to find our pages. And then also, while you're over there on Facebook, look for a private group called the Screen Addicts Fanatics and become one of our fanatics. That group right there is where we're usually most active, doing memes and movie trailers and all the news. And we just have a lot of fun over there. So head on over there and become one of our fanatics. And if you ever have any questions, comments, or if you want to be a guest on the show, you can always shoot us an email as well. The email is screenaddictspodcast@gmail.com. We will read anything and everything from that email bag. And then, like I said, if you ever wanted to be a guest on here, man, shoot us an email. We'll see if we can get something rolling. So, Steven, I think that's it.
Well, certain qualifications do apply.
I know, that's why I say we'll see if we can work something out.
Chris is like, any old bum just want to come on the show.
Damn right.
He's a bum, Chris. He's a bum.
Hey, I do have to shout out the month of October, man.
Oh, yeah.
Because our episodes in the month of October really upped our listeners.
Oh, they blew it up.
They loved it.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody that listened to all of our stuff, all of our episodes, our horror-filled episodes in October. And it was much appreciated. Thank you so much.
In the same vein to that, I mean, I think this year we had more guests in this entire year than we did in the previous 6.5 of the show. Because I know, like, during, like, what was it, like, year 2 or 3, we had guests, and it was starting to become not routine, but it was a little bit more frequently. But for one, we've never done 4 guests in 1 month. That was great. And I know Jeremy's kind of like loosely he's more of a cameo at this point because he doesn't do the show. But you know, I think that this year I was looking back, and I'm definitely going to plan an official post probably on Instagram and Facebook thanking everyone that came out and joined the show with us, because man, we had so many good guests this year, and it's great to see even their stuff starting to thrive out. And Erica, who doesn't even do podcasts, she texts me almost weekly saying, like, I really miss doing the show. If you guys ever wanted me back, I would love to. And I was like thinking, well, if you have that creative spark, start one of your own. You know, I think that anything
That's what we did.
That, yeah, people ask me all the time, like, what made you want to do a podcast? I'm like, well, for one, Chris, and then 2, because he had the stellar point of saying that we talk about this stuff all the time anyway. So if that's the case, just record what you're saying and then put it out there, because they'll listen to you. A lot of people like to listen to this stuff. And I think the best compliment that I ever get about the show is that anytime people listen to us, they don't feel like it's an official podcast, or it sounds like a backhanded compliment, but people are always like quick to say, but it's because it sounds so natural. Like people feel like they're part of the conversation, like they would be talking with one of their friends or family members about a movie or a TV show that they like. And because, man, I've listened to some that were just so official. I'm like, yeah, this is kind of boring. You can't relate to it. And I mean, if you can't relate to us two boneheads, I don't know what you can do.
And I get that. I mean, we do listen to, you know, some of these official movie critics and official movie reviewers, and you know, they probably have a list in front of them. Talk about this, and
the bullet points.
Make sure in this, and this. And I mean, we don't necessarily do that. There's certain points, yes, we love to hit.
Sometimes we should,
especially. Yeah, it's good.
What's a bullet point?
Yeah.
You know,
well, it's good, man. And I like the way, like I said, we just talk, and this is what we do.
And not to plug my own podcast that I'm doing, but Real Problems has been fun. I like doing it, and it's streaming on all platforms now, and that's REEL Problems, where I take one movie, dissect the troubled production of that film, whether it was something physically or something with an individual. And I had the problem of trying to take that approach of being ultra serious. I didn't want to be like, oh yeah, just kind of natural. I was trying to make it like Dateline on Real Problems, you know, and the samples that I was putting out to people, they were like, what the hell is this? No, like, this sounds weird. Like, I would tune out if you sound like a robot. I tune in when you sound more natural. And so I took what you said to me one time, because you told me that a long time ago. You said, man, loosen up. You sound like you're performing. And I was like, damn, am I? And then I started asking people, and they're like, yeah, you sound like you're trying to. On the Screen Addicts, we are going to be talking about DuckTales. It just like doesn't
Right.
fit, doesn't sound right. But thanks for that note, by the way. 6 years
Not a
ago,
problem.
I've been meaning to tell you for the last 6 years.
Perfect. Now, but man, it's been a joy. Another year is coming close to a close. We have some good episodes coming up
Oh
for
yeah,
the end of the year. Some really fun stuff. So stay tuned for sure. And man, 2024 I think is going to be a really good year for us. We've caught our second wind almost with the show.
yeah.
Especially with guests, man. I think we've kind of loosened up, and we're ready to have some really awesome people on the show. Not that we haven't had before, but man, it's
We
the
just never had them.
October.
Yeah, we just didn't
Yeah,
have people on the show. That's the thing.
October really opened our eyes to a bunch of things that we could be doing, and hopefully everything that we kind of have in plans for the show comes to fruition, and all of our listeners are going to be in for a treat for sure. So, with that note, guys, I think that is it for tonight. So, as for me, good night.
Adios, amigos.